There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from shyness. It comes from observation. Some of the quietest people you meet are the ones who have already seen too much, heard too much, felt too much. They don't speak to be heard. They watch, they listen, they remember, because life has taught them that trust is not something you give away easily. It's something you build slowly, carefully, intentionally. These are the people who don't chase attention because they know how dangerous it is to be seen by the wrong eyes. They've been burned by false smiles, wounded by people who pretended to care, used by those who only showed up when they needed something. So now, they don't trust words, they trust patterns. They don't trust apologies, they trust change. They don't trust loud promises, they trust quiet consistency. And if you're one of those people, someone who's learned the hard way, then this video is for you. This isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming clear. It's about learning that trust isn't just an emotion, it's a responsibility. And not everyone deserves to carry it. Welcome to Lessons Legacy. People meant what they said. That loyalty came from kindness. But life doesn't always work like that. Some people don't see your honesty as a strength. They see it as an opening, a weakness, a chance to manipulate. They hear your vulnerability and think, now I know where to strike. They listen not to understand, but to gather ammunition. They'll smile, they'll nod, they'll even tell you how safe you are with them, until the moment you become inconvenient, until they no longer benefit from you. And that's when the mask drops. What I've learned is this: trust isn't about who talks the sweetest. It's about who shows up when it's inconvenient. It's about who respects your silence, who honors what you don't say, not just what you do. And more importantly, it's about learning to trust yourself first. Your instincts, your gut, that quiet voice that tells you something's off, even when the words sound right. Because the worst kind of betrayal is the one you felt coming, but ignored. To give people the benefit of the doubt, to assume good intentions, even when something felt off. And every time someone betrayed that trust, you told yourself they didn't mean it, or worse, that's just how people are. But that's not wisdom, that's self-abandonment. Trust is not about being open, it's about being discerning, because the more access you give, the more power someone has to harm you. And the truth is, some people don't want connection, they want control. They're not interested in building something real. They're collecting pieces of you to use later, to twist, to judge, to gossip, to diminish. So now, you pause, you listen longer, you speak less, not because you're guarded, but because you've learned that your trust is a gift, and not everyone treats it that way. This isn't about building walls, it's about building gates with locks and keys and careful invitations, because the people who truly care about you, they won't rush in. They won't demand access. They'll wait for the door to open, and when it does, they'll walk in gently. They see the fake smile, the forced laughter, the way someone's tone shifts when the room changes. They catch the side glances, the subtle digs wrapped in jokes, the energy that doesn't match the words. They won't always call it hot, because they're not trying to create drama. They're trying to protect peace. You see, quiet people don't need confirmation to trust their intuition. They've been in enough rooms where things didn't feel right, and later, those feelings were proven true. They've learned that silence isn't empty, it's full of clues, and if you pay attention long enough, people will always reveal who they are. That's why quiet people are slow to trust, not because they're bitter, but because they've paid the price of trusting too fast. They don't need to know everything about you. They just need to watch how you treat others, how you speak when no one's watching, how you act when there's nothing to gain. And here's the thing. If a quiet person starts pulling away, it's not random, it's not emotional, it's because they saw something and chose peace instead of confrontation. They're not judging, they're just protecting their space, quietly, wisely, and without a need to explain. But because they're looking for weak spots, they act interested, they ask deep questions, they listen closely, but not out of care, out of strategy. They're building a map, a way into your heart, a list of what matters to you, what wounds you carry, what you fear the most. And 10. When the friendship fades, or the relationship shifts, or their ego gets bruised, they use it. Suddenly, your secrets aren't sacred. Your past becomes a punchline. Your struggles get twisted and thrown back at you. That's when you realize you didn't share your truth. You gave them a weapon. And the shame that follows isn't just about betrayal. It's about ignoring the signs, the subtle moments when something didn't feel right, the hesitation you silenced, the red flags you painted green. But here's what matters most. You can forgive yourself for trusting too soon. You can learn without becoming bitter. You can grow without closing completely, because trust is still beautiful. But now, it's earned. Now, it's tested. Now, it's placed in hands that have shown they can hold it with care. You don't need to stop being open. You just need to become more intentional. You've seen, they don't know the nights you stayed awake, regretting a conversation you thought was safe. They don't know what it's like to have your softness used against you, to have your kindness mistaken for weakness. So now, you don't rush to share. You pause, you observe, you wait, not out of fear, but out of wisdom, because you've learned that protecting your peace isn't paranoia, it's self-respect. You've seen how quickly people can switch, how words can be twisted, how "I'm here for you" turns into silence. The moment you're no longer useful, so you stopped oversharing, you stopped explaining. You stopped handing out pieces of yourself to people who only showed up for the highlight reel. Now, you give slowly, you test quietly, you choose carefully, and the people who matter, they understand. They don't pressure you to spill everything. They don't push past your boundaries. They sit with your silence. They earn your trust over time. They know that real connection isn't rushed, it's revealed. So no, you're not cold, you're not distant. You're just done bleeding for people who never learned how to hold your heart. Gut feeling when someone's energy feels off, even when their words sound perfect. It's the tension in your body during a conversation that shouldn't feel wrong, but does. It's the moment your smile feels forced, your laugh delayed, your spirit tired around someone who claims to care. And still, you doubt yourself because they said the right things. because everyone else seems to like them, because you don't want to be the one who overthinks. But here's what experience teaches you. Energy doesn't lie, and the body often knows what the mind hasn't processed yet. So if your gut says slow down, slow down. If something feels performative, watch closer. If you feel drained instead of seen, pull back. Not everyone is a bad person, but not everyone is good for you. Some people are charming but chaotic, supportive but only when it serves them, loyal but only until you say no. Your intuition isn't paranoia, it's protection. It's wisdom collected from every time you trusted too soon, forgave too quickly, opened too widely. So now, you listen, you honor the signals, you trust yourself before you trust the performance. And that shift, that's when everything begins to change. Or shared memories. But the truth is, some connections expire, some relationships outgrow their honesty, and some people count on your loyalty because they know you won't question their intentions. They test your silence, they stretch your boundaries, they call it trust when really it's tolerance. And the longer you stay loyal to someone who no longer respects you, the more you lose pieces of yourself. You make excuses for their behavior. You downplay your own discomfort. You convince yourself they didn't mean it, when deep down, you know they did. But here's what real loyalty looks like. It's not about staying. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. It's choosing people who choose you back, who take accountability, who listen when you speak, and care about how their actions impact you. Loyalty without truth becomes bondage. Loyalty without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. So when you start honoring your truth, you'll lose some people. People who only stayed because you never questioned them, because you kept your standards quiet. But what you gain is freedom, clarity, the kind of trust that doesn't have to be earned back over and over. And that's the kind of loyalty worth building. What people know about you, it's about what they do with your presence. Do they uplift it? Do they honor it? Or do they drain it? You begin to notice who makes you feel lighter and who leaves you emotionally heavier. You pay attention to the small shifts, the tension in your chest, the way your tone changes, the way you hesitate to be yourself around certain people. And slowly, you stop forcing connections. You stop over-explaining. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who never really saw it. Instead, you walk quieter, you move wiser, you become intentional with who you let into your space. Not because you're arrogant, but because you've learned your peace is priceless and the wrong people are expensive. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need to clear up every misunderstanding. You don't need to be available to people who only value your silence. Let them wonder, let them assume, let them say you've changed. Because you have. You've stopped handing up pieces of yourself for temporary comfort. You've stopped shrinking to stay liked. You've stopped trusting noise and started listening to the quiet. And in that quiet, you found yourself again. No unfolding of truth, given only to those who've shown they can hold it gently. You've learned that being quiet doesn't mean being weak. It means you're listening. It means you've seen enough to know that not every smile is sincere. Not every conversation is safe. Not every hand offered is meant to lift you up. And that's okay. You don't need to become hard. You don't need to stop loving. You just need to stop pouring into people who only show up when they're thirsty and disappear when you're empty. Let your silence filter the room. Let your stillness speak louder than your words ever could. Let your intuition lead, because it always knew. The right people won't be offended by your caution. They'll honor it. They'll earn your trust, not demand it. And they'll stay in it because it's easy, but because they see the quiet strength it takes to choose peace over performance. So protect your heart, protect your truth, protect your light. Because once your peace becomes your priority, the rest becomes very, very clear. Welcome back to yourself. Welcome back to peace. Welcome back to trust that doesn't have to hurt.